Hello, this is Joyce Graff with The Powerful Patient. I'm here today with my good friend Robin Martinez. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Joyce. It's good to see you again.
Thanks. And Robin's out in Colorado and I'm in Boston. And today we have a special guest with us. And Mindy is a podcaster herself. So I'll let you introduce yourself and your podcast, Mindy. Hi.
Absolutely. Hi there. I'm Mindy Jo, and I'm based out of the Midwest, East Coast area. And yes, I have, in addition to being a teacher, I'm a school teacher by day, and I am also a life coach, certified life coach of worryaboutYouToday.com, which I founded on my own brand and business. And while on my journey as a life coach and trying to help others. In fact, my mission is to spread as much positivity to as many people while on this planet. That is my goal in life. I want to make sure as a life coach that I am spreading that positivity to others and lifting others and encouraging others. Um,
That's
so,
beautiful.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So tell us, so in March when the world shut down because of COVID, how
Yes.
did your life change at that point?
Wow, it was quite the shocker when our governor had said, "Okay, schools, we're going to take a 3 week break just to see, what's going on with this pandemic." We were all very uncertain at the
Sure.
time. I thought, okay, I can handle that. I can handle quarantine for 3 weeks and homeschooling my children while virtually teaching them online. This is good. I can do this. And then when it became longer and longer, and just the uncertainty of COVID-19 and not really understanding what we were facing and being fearful. I was worried about my children. I did not want them to contract COVID. Although we're quarantining, we still had to go out and get groceries. And although I'm being safe and having a mask on and hand sanitizing, I still don't know, how I can really contract this. It's very, it's scary. Um, so as time went on, I think just all of these uncertainties. I'm a very social person, so not being able to be out and about, taking my children out, being with friends, family, like extended family, it just really took a toll on my mental health. And I was struggling with anxiety, and then it actually went into a depression. And I'll never forget sitting on the sofa, and I'm looking at my beautiful 5-year-old daughter, and the thought that went through my mind, and this was the game changer for me. The thought that went through my mind was, I'm living for my children. And I went, whoa. And I just knew. I'm like, that's a red flag. I haven't experienced that before. That's not just anxiety, that's something more. And from that point, I actually contacted my family doctor. It was very hard to find a counselor that quick, with everything going on in our
Mm.
society with COVID and a lot of mental health, challenges around. So I contacted my family doctor, and she was able to get me in within 2 weeks. So I had to wait that 2 weeks, and I just did what I could do. Like, I just kept pushing forward. Um, I didn't feel like I was living. I just kind of felt like I was surviving, but I wanted to keep that smile on my face for my children, for my students, because all the while I still had to teach, virtually. All the while I still had to keep my household moving forward, and I'm being as positive as I could, but I didn't feel that positivity within me, though. Like, I felt like a shell of a person. And finally got into my family doctor, talked about the options, and we did decide to go with a medication to help. I mean, and that was the best thing I could have done for myself, just to get through that time, because we stayed in quarantine for several months. Now with my particular school district, we did end up going back in the classroom this fall. So it has been, for our parents, it was either you can go virtual 100% or you can go in the classroom 100%. So those were our options. And as a teacher, obviously I did not have the option as a teacher. I was.
Right.
Mhm.
Let me ask you to expand a little bit, please, on how your decision making about this is more than I can handle by myself, but I really need some help here, and how can people try to analyze that for themselves? As you said, you realized the only reason that you wanted to continue to live was in order to support your children, and that's a red flag. But um, expand on that a little for me, will you?
Of course, yeah. So, like I said, that was the game changer because I knew, it's more than just to survive, right? I want, and this is for my wish for everyone, is to thrive in life, and I want us to, to all be able to enjoy, want more for ourselves, and that for me, like that's how I felt was, um, I want to be the best mother possible, absolutely, but I can't just live for my children, right? Like I need to make sure that I'm setting a good example for them and being a positive role model and doing what I need to do to take care of myself. Because if I'm showing them that I'm taking care of myself, mom's doing what she needs to do, then that's going to help them, live better lives or thrive in their own, their own lives. So it was important
Right.
to be a good role model for my children. So
Right,
again,
and you're not coloring their lives by being down all the time. I mean,
exactly.
it's a fine line. It's difficult to self-analyze about that because you're probably not thinking on all four burners at the same time as well. But um, we all get blue.
Yes.
So many of us are bummed by being being isolated. But how do we distinguish between the sort of normal downness of this year
Absolutely.
versus I think I need somebody else to help?
Absolutely, yes, and I mean just to show me, like my children and I, like we have a very very solid, very close relationship. Like in fact, I'm here drinking this coffee. It was my son who lives in Columbus, mind you, dropped this off today, knowing that I'm ill. Drops it off on the porch, on the front porch,
Yes,
on the doorstep. He already had to come into town anyways, because he's, his hometown here is Springfield here. But he actually has driven over to give me a call because he's worried about me, but he's still being safe and maintaining his distance. I'm like, wow, so that just shows like the relationship I have with my kiddos. And but it's more than just, like you said, it's more than just cooking and cleaning for them and taking care. I want to have, I want to show them, hey, life is what you make it, and I want you to get the most out of it. So that's very important to me. So yeah, I knew that I had to keep pushing forward and do more to for them and for myself.
yeah. Robin, what do you hear from people about this kind of quandary? Do I need to seek help or can I tough this out?
Most of the people that I work with are people who have chronic health conditions. And so a lot of their concerns are getting the medical care that they need without putting themselves at risk, without putting anyone else at risk. Um, how urgent is this situation for healthcare and that sort of thing. So that they pretty much have occupied minds. It's not as awful as, oh Lord, I'm stuck at home with nothing to do and I will never see another human being again, and so on. So their situation is a little bit different, but of course it's really scary to be in a situation where you might really, really need medical care and be afraid to go out and get it.
Yes.
Right. My own son is handicapped and had been getting really bummed about being in the office in the house so much, but and needs to be because he's immune compromised. So he just recently got himself a puppy. So so now he has to worry about the puppy, and that'll consume his mind in another way. So there are ways and ways of dealing with depression. Yeah, to recognize that you need to do something new and different to perk up your life, as you say, give it some more purpose, some different kind of focus, and or get some medication if that seems to be warranted to try to pull you out of the pit so you don't just wallow in that pit, which is not only not good for you, it's also not good for the people around you.
I would agree. And for me too, I found with the depression, it put me into like a fog Like I just felt like, again, I was just moving through like just going through the motions, and I had lost my focus. So it was tough to say, okay, I'm going to get this lesson plan together. Do that. I mean, it was a struggle. I did it, and
Right.
I did it to the best of my ability. However, I mean, it was yeah, it was quite the struggle to make that happen. So I knew that for me, I knew my serotonin levels were low. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something wasn't right, and I thought, okay, I need to. It's okay to say I need help. It's okay to, to get what I need to get through this.
Good. So
Absolutely.
you got yourself out of the bottom of the pit and you made a life-changing decision about what to do with your career, as I understand it too. So tell me
Yes.
about that.
Well, again, I love being an educator. Just but being an educator, being a teacher is actually my second career. My first was as an operations manager and leader for approximately 10 years for a big corporation. That's what I did before teaching. And I miss working with adults. I miss that development and helping others and encouraging and mentoring others. And life coaching just made sense to me. And it's something that I can do virtually. It's something that I can do on my own time. It doesn't take away from my teaching. It doesn't take away from my children when I'm at home. I can set my own schedule, which is really nice. So I decided to become a certified life coach, and I've now tagged onto that a positivity life coach because that's the message that I want to send to others. Is I want to be that encourager, that supporter, that person that asks those why questions to help someone get to where they need to be in their life. So as they achieve their goals and keep a positive mindset.
So this sounds like something that people could also do. And you don't always have to go the medical route, but getting a life coach, getting someone else to talk to, either there are online psychologists or telemedicine kind of psychologists that you can talk
Yes,
with, or a life coach to try to just make sure that you're not getting off on the wrong spur of the railway here.
absolutely. Yes.
And I would say for people who are having people hunger, that it's very important to realize there's a lot more on the internet besides Netflix and Facebook
Right.
or Google and Amazon. that you, that there are patient communities, there are, as you said, life coach classes. There are things that you can do where you really connect with other people. We find that the people on Smart Patients regard each other as family. And even if they live all alone, they have real human connections through the internet, and that helps a lot.
That's wonderful.
Yes, the smartpatients.com has wonderful communities that are organized by condition, the condition that you're dealing with. There's a lot of fellow travelers out there on the internet that you can connect to. And so many amusing things that you can do to lift the tenor of your day. My son is taking harmonica lessons uh, with a coach who's in California. So all over Zoom. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do, but do something that lights you up, that makes your day more fun. It'd be
That's
really good.
wonderful.
So in your story, we were about to go back to school. You
Yes.
said your schools were resuming in-person classes in September.
Yes.
So pick it up from there and tell us what happened next.
Well, of course, being a teacher, as well as a mother, because I need to go in person classes, my children need to also go in person. And I work and my kiddos, we live in the same district. So I made sure that we were sanitizing, mask wearing. I've been training my kiddos, my own children, on social distancing, being extra careful, all of the important things, and then. I recently, it seemed like it came out of nowhere. I had a sinus infection, and I thought, okay, I can handle a sinus infection. And then last week, I lost my sense of taste and smell, and I knew then, based on what I had been reading online, that I needed to get tested. I hope that I did not have COVID-19. However, with losing the taste and smell, I knew obviously it was my responsibility as a teacher, as a mother. I need to find out what is happening here with my body. So I had talked with administration at school and I said, I need to go ahead. I'm going to leave today and I'm going to look to get a test. And because I was leaving in the afternoon, I thought I would be able to easily go and find a testing location. And that was not the case. In fact, the one testing location that did seem to have an opening, when I contacted them, they said you have to have a doctor, like doctor's orders. So I thought, okay. And I checked urgent cares around town that were supposedly doing the testing. They said, no, we have a backlog. You will have to wait. And I didn't want to wait because I'm an essential employee and I have to know, especially for, again, my colleagues, my students, my children, I need to know if I am positive for COVID-19.
There's no testing set up to support the school?
We do not have a testing. We do not have testing in the school. No, that we would not have that in our county.
Yeah, because I know our local school system, the first thing they decided to do was not routine testing, but certainly to test anybody who has symptoms.
Okay.
Exactly as you described, even if it may be the cleaning personnel, it may be the administrator, it may be a teacher, but the adults are evidently at greater risk than the children themselves. But nonetheless, if someone has symptoms, then you're quite right that it's very important to get quick testing for that person, find out immediately whether we need to isolate that person and anybody they've come in contact with.
Well, and to my knowledge, in our county and maybe the surrounding counties as well, I'm not sure if that's even an option for our districts. I mean, I don't want to speak for the school districts, around, but I'm just saying I don't know if that's even an option. I haven't heard from other teachers in other districts like, oh yeah, I can go ahead and just go get a test on site. What I did have, of course, it was very helpful. From my school nurse, she had a listing of places to check into, and that's what I did. Like as soon as I left the school, I started calling through. But that here we're thinking that those are available locations and they weren't, just because I think of the surge of the number of people that have been getting sick in our county.
That's right.
And there was just no availability. Usually you could go into like a CVS or a hometown, like our urgent cares, and just go right in and get tested, but that was not the case, and it was appointment only, and they were backed up. So
right.
so I made the choice. I was not going to wait, so I contacted my family doctor. They were wonderful. Just a local doctor here in Springfield. They were wonderful about working with me. They put the orders in to the lab that I had originally called, that said they could get me in with doctor's orders. But they were even on a backlog. So they were telling me I had to wait. That was Tuesday afternoon. They were telling me I'd have to wait until Thursday morning to get tested. So I went ahead and made the appointment for Thursday morning. However, Wednesday morning came, rolled up, and I started looking online to see if they had any cancellations. And the first cancellation I had, I noticed, because my doctor's office had already put the paperwork in, I immediately called them and said, I would like to take this spot. Good. And they said, okay, not a problem. We have a cancellation, not a problem. Because I knew that there would be someone that would cancel, because they were having testing every 10 minutes. That's just how full they were with their schedule.
Right. And just for all of our listeners out there, since Mindy Jo lives in Ohio, I went and I checked, about testing in Ohio, and there is a very long list, I'm sure, like the one that your school nurse gave you, of potential testing centers. But for her town, testing is less available than it is in some of the denser urban centers. So yes, you should do this by phone first. Let your fingers do the walking first. Check the internet, and phone people and find out what the availability really is. And the other thing is that in Ohio, it is required that you have a note from your doctor. You have to have a prescription for the testing from your doctor. So that's another phone call you need to make. So there are impediments. Some states do have drive-in centers or walk-in centers where you can just arrive and wait in line to get tested. but that's not true everywhere in the country. Robin, do you know what the rules are in Colorado?
We do have some drive-in, just drive up and wait and wait and wait and wait. They
Yeah.
have long lines. So you go in your car and be prepared to sit there with your phone or whatever kind of entertainment you want, read and just wait until they get to you.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that in all the testing situations that I've heard of, people do wait in their cars. They don't go into a facility when they suspect they are sick. And as soon as you suspect you are sick, you should start self-isolating, make sure other members of your family isolate to the extent that they can, stay away from them, and they stay away from you, but everybody stay home. So it's really getting to be a scary situation with the number of cases that are exploding currently.
And Robin, if I can tag on, yes, I know that we also have had some pop-up testing locations like that. It hasn't been recently, but I know that there have been, because I've heard of others. Like there was one at our local high school, because I've heard the story of where they had to sit in their cars for hours waiting to be tested. It was bad timing for me, I guess, with COVID. When COVID decided to knock on my door. But
Well, on the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, you got an actual appointment and knew
yes,
when you were going to be seen. And that,
that's right.
for a lot of people,
That's right.
especially if you have kids,
Yes.
who wants to be stuck in their car waiting with hours with, with 3 kids or something like
Yes.
that? The kids get
Absolutely.
bored, and you can't blame them.
Absolutely right. Yes, and I did stay in my car when I tested with the lab. They had me stay in the car as well, and in fact, the young lady that came out, she was in full gear, from the suit down. Like she had the plastic mask on, everything, covering herself. So she was in full gear when she came out and tested me in the car.
Because
Yeah.
we need her not to get sick, right?
Exactly.
We need her to be there tomorrow for the next
Yes.
test. So yeah, testing is very important. Now, how long did it take you to get the results of the test?
So I tested Wednesday morning, and I found out about the results on Sunday, which shows you, and that was for the online report. So, which shows you that someone is working around the clock in these labs and getting things pushed through. But yes, both my the lab, as the online lab, as well as my doctor's office, my chart, both of those came through online on Sunday.
Right. And we Americans are used to pushing through a cold or something and going ahead and going to work. And it's very important to note here that with COVID-19, that is a very bad policy. And from Wednesday to Sunday, you were in limbo. You didn't know for sure that you had COVID-19. Maybe it was just a cold, but it was beginning to smell a little bit like COVID.
Right.
And it's very important that when you're in that limbo situation, you must act as if you were positive. You have to isolate yourself, because otherwise you're going to go spread it to somebody else, as you mentioned before, and that somebody else might be much more vulnerable. So whenever I see these statistics about how many people, I get lost in all the zeros, I forget. So if I say a number, it'll probably be wrong, but it'll be wrong because we're listening on a different day. But anyway, so there's some astronomical number of people who've been diagnosed with COVID. And people were worried about, well, yeah, we're doing so much more testing, we're finding more people. But as you've discovered, getting tested is not so easy. So there's very truly a lot more people getting COVID. Now, most of those people are not going to get sick. I mean, you don't look particularly sick this morning, thank God.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, so you're in the group of people for whom it'll be like a bad case of the flu.
That's what it feels like. Yes, like headache, like so. But if it hadn't been, again, Joyce, if it hadn't been for that my loss of taste and smell, I would have just kept going through the motions and working.
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the big dangers about COVID, because when you see that number, the one thing you really need to keep in mind is that within 2 weeks, 2% of those people will be in the hospital.
Hmm.
And we're overrunning our hospitals.
Right.
So take that number not just as some theoretical number. It's a predictor that 2% of those people will be in the hospital in 2 weeks. And can we afford that? Will we have beds for them? Will we have staff for them? That's what we're trying to prevent. And if you stay home and don't infect anybody else, you're not going to help that number rise. That's the problem. We need people to isolate to protect them from accidentally, certainly not on purpose, but accidentally infecting someone else. And that someone else might be much more vulnerable than you are.
Yes. Agreed.
So, and your family also is isolating with you. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Good.
I'm being very careful with my children, making sure I'm isolating as much as I can. I'm being extra cautious with a mask on when I make the prepare food, of course, making sure my hands are clean. I do that anyways, but just being very very sensitive to the situation, very cautious. Yeah, like I have plenty of masks, the surgical ones as well. That you buy from the pharmacy, and yeah.
Great. Yeah, so being as scrupulous as you can be, I know.
Right.
And it's difficult because when you're in the house, but when they tell people about isolating, they do recommend that you try to stay 6 feet apart
Yes.
from people within your family, because you are potentially contagious to them as well as to other people.
Right. And I would never want to infect my babies. You know what I mean? Like my 5-year-old daughter, she's a hugger, and I'm like, honey, you're just gonna have to, just we can get through this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're just not gonna be able to hug like you, no snuggles, kiddo. But
Like keep away for a couple of weeks.
that's right. I'm like, but she's handled it very well though. Like she's, being very mature, being a 5-year-old, but I'm thinking, oh my goodness, imagine if she were 2 or 3 years old. Oh, that would be so hard.
Right.
Or taking care of an infant. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I'm blessed from that standpoint. At least my children are a little bit older. So
what have you learned? What would you want to share with people about understanding that they might be infected, getting a diagnosis, how to behave? What would you like to share?
really just to really pay close attention to your body, right? Figuring out your symptoms, because again, if I had not taken it seriously, losing my sense of smell and taste. When I had read that months ago, I thought, ew, that's strange. How would you just lose your sense of smell and taste? And when it happened to me, that was the red flag. Like, okay, I need to take this seriously, which I would anyways. But you know what I mean? It's like, I need to get tested. I'm not going to let this go. I need to make sure I self isolate immediately. Like, do all the things I should do to keep myself safe, but really keep everybody else around me safe if I have this. Like, that's all I could keep thinking about was, I don't want to give this to anyone else. Because you're right, I am blessed right now. I have a headache. Okay, I have this. I have a bad sinus infection. Not feeling very well. Not much of an appetite, etc. But these are all like cold and flu symptoms. I can handle this. I can fight this off. But what about that next person that can't? So take it seriously. COVID-19 is real. Take it seriously, and do your best to stop the spread. That's definitely. So just make sure that people are paying attention to their symptoms. Very important.
Right. And your symptoms were so sneaky that in the beginning, as you said, in the old days, if this were last year, you probably would have toughed it through and kept on going to school.
Yes, I would have. I would have toughed it out. I would have, continued to work with a sinus infection. I would have just passed off and said, okay, I'll be fine, and the scary part is, and then I wouldn't have had a mask on if we were talking, this was last year at this time, so I am thankful for the masks too, especially as a teacher. I mean, no one likes wearing them. I understand that, but it does keep us safer, and especially with COVID-19, it's important that we are responsible and we're wearing them like we should be. Like I say that a lot to my students, we
Right.
have to be responsible. I know this isn't a fashion statement. I know we don't enjoy it, but we need to do our part and take care of each other by wearing this. Yeah.
So let me ask you, what has happened at your school now? Do you have other people there who are positive, either students or teachers?
Well, with the I guess with HIPAA and all the medical laws, etc. I don't know exactly who tests positive and who doesn't. And yeah, so I'm not privy to that information. From my understanding, when someone does test positive with COVID-19 and others are at risk, based on less than 6 feet apart. I think it's like 15 minutes or more, exposure, etc. I believe the health department does their part in contacting. The district does their part in contacting. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't get that information. Now, what does happen is a phone call goes out or an email. I think it's actually phone call and email from our school building principal or district that would say, okay, we've had a positive case of COVID-19. Just want to let you know we've disinfected the area that this person was primarily in, etc. So yeah, just to do our part.
Let me ask the question in a slightly different way. What has been the response of the school to your diagnosis? Have your students been informed, your colleagues?
Yes.
What's the
So
response from the school?
yeah, so anyone, and I will say that again, I'm very blessed because the district that I work in, like they took it very seriously to the point where it was Sunday when I received my results, and it was Sunday that I reported those results to my school building. Yeah, and I mean, I had, it took, I had, people calling me, asking me questions. Who was I close to? Who was, where was I? Rooms, etc., etc. So, yes, so the response was very quick, especially with being on a Sunday. Like I didn't even have to wait until that Monday. So everybody was, from that standpoint, everybody was really quick to get on board and figure out what we need to do, what the response needed to be. So I was very thankful for that.
So
Yes.
they immediately began to do contact tracing, which is
Yes.
great. That's what they need to
Yes.
do. So who have you been in contact with and who you have infected? So do you know, were the parents of your students notified?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So at that point, that's when those calls go out, those emails. And again, but I'm not privy to all the specifics, on that. So I wouldn't want to speak on that. But I know that that's what happens next. Yeah. So
Right.
I'm on that call list and that email list. So I know it, I know that stuff goes out. Yeah. It did go out. I'm like, oh, that was me, but it's been great as far as, my students. I mean, again, I'm still, now that I'm at home, I'm still, putting lessons out there. I'm still available for contact virtually, you know, and I'll do my part to help them and make sure that they can work through because life still goes on. Whether or not I'm here or I'm at school, I'm still a teacher. And although I have COVID-19, I'm still teaching and taking care of my students. So, I'm here for them. I'm available for them. And I wouldn't want it any other way, because I don't want it to lose that contact, with them for several, for weeks.
So you're teaching virtually right now, is that right?
So yes. So I have my lessons out in a platform, a virtual platform, and then I have touched base with them like in a Zoom type, meeting like this, and then I'm available throughout the day with email as well as the messages that go through that online platform. Yes.
So have you told your students, have you told your class that you're positive?
I have not come out and said, "Hey, I'm positive for COVID," but I mean, it's pretty clear. I'm at home, and here's, I'm looking like, "Hey guys, hey, I'm here, team, and we're gonna get through this." And a few of them have even said, "Oh, we want you to feel better, quickly, and we're worried about you." And so they've been very, very supportive, very encouraging, and I'm thankful too. Like from a timing perspective, at least it's Thanksgiving week, and it's a short week anyways from a school. I'm thinking from the teacher perspective, so I won't have to miss as much this way, and I'm glad for that because I don't want to be away from them, for 2-3 weeks, at a
Right.
time. Like that's too much.
Well, I hope that this is the worst of it and that you're going to get better soon.
Me too, and keep my, like I said, and my own children, if they stay healthy. So far, so good. I'm very thankful for that. That's what I've been really hoping for. So,
Right. And now let me just ask you another question about the sort of life coaching perspective on this, because you were home and isolated and anxious before. Now you're home and isolated and anxious in a slightly different way. So how is this different from a couple of months ago?
my focus, absolutely. I feel more centered now. My focus is there. Um, you know, like I said before, when I was going through all of that, it just felt like a fog, and I felt like, okay, what's my purpose? And I truly feel like, I have my purpose. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like it all comes together, right? So my purpose, I love being a teacher and educator. First and foremost, I love being a mom. Like, I'm just gonna put it, that's the first thing. If I'm doing my priority list, yes, the best job I'll ever have. It's the hardest job I'll ever have, but it's the best job, most rewarding, fulfilling job I'll ever have, being a mom, and then being a teacher, being an educator. And like I said, with the life coaching now, getting to help others and spread a positive message. And I am on social media, not on social media to play or waste time. I mean, as far as, we talked about that a little earlier, but as social media, as far as putting positive messages out there, writing articles, like I've been writing a lot. I've been doing that for quite some time, being a guest blogger on other blogs, other publications, just trying to get that positive message out there, because I know I'm not the only one, and I'm hoping I can help others that may be going through something similar or could go through something similar in the future, that I can help. Yeah. So I think it's just that focus. That's what's different.
So, Robin, it strikes me that she's telling us one of the things that we've learned a long time ago about patient support, that when you are helping somebody else, you're actually helping yourself.
Definitely. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as you just said, find your purpose in life, and that purpose could be as small as having a conversation with somebody on Zoom or on the telephone. We don't, we're programmed to think we have to be together and hug each other and kiss each other. In fact, that's not the primary ingredient. As we've learned through online support groups for our various diseases, Facebook friends, network friends, it can be like family and extremely important in your life. Just that shared experience is what helps people. So if you're down and you're talking to somebody else who's down and can help them lift up a little bit, for whatever reason, that contributes to your own mental health, your own stability, and your own feeling of purpose.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So yeah, it feels good to help others. It feels good to be there and be that support, that encourager.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's also why my weekly podcasts are such a blessing to me as well, that I get to help others, out there and across the United States that may have questions. And yeah, so that feels good.
So if our listeners want to join you for one of your podcasts, it's worryaboutyoutoday.com. Is that right?
That's right. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. The Worry About You Today. I'm also on YouTube. So what we do with this podcast is we stream it live on all the platforms. So YouTube, Facebook, and then we then turn that. So my co-host Jay Franzi, as well as Keith Sensing, he's behind the scenes and helps facilitate as well. So those two gentlemen, they turn it into a podcast for us. So it's on Spotify and the other. But I love that live stream is really cool. Just like we're speaking to one another now, Joyce and Robin. It's, yeah, like I said, it's just a real blessing and getting to help others. And but yeah, so I would love that. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. West Coast, 10 p.m. East Coast. And then, of course, it's recorded, and you can check it out the next day if you're on the East Coast and 10 p.m. is too late.
Great. And we hope that people will look for other podcasts and YouTube broadcasts also from powerfulpatient.org. Robin and I are on there somewhat irregularly, but we do good stuff from time to time, and we hope that you'll join us with that.
Absolutely.
And if you would like to share, broadcast this under your title as well, we'd be glad for you to do that.
I would love
So
that.
thanks very much, Mindy Jo, for sharing your experience with us and helping other people know how they can brighten their own lives, even in these very weird times that we are all going through. And
Yeah.
even if they do, God forbid, have some medical challenges that they're dealing with.
Thank you, Joyce and Robin. I really appreciate you both. Thank you.